We are planning a full day outing with every one of us, not just the team, not just the ministry, but for everyone.
जशी तुम्ही जाणा की आम्ही आउटिंग एक प्लॅन करता फक्त टिमा सांगातात न्हू पूण सगळी जाण जे येतात
Yep. So we're just finalizing the date because if we just
तर आम्ही आमची बायबल उघड करूया सुटकेच्या पुस्तकाने आम्ही सुरुवात
today's meeting is titled "Your latter days are going to be greater."
आयचो टायटल जो जावन आसा तो असो जावन आसा की तुझे मागीरचे दीस वर्ते आसतले ज्या
Look to
परस
somebody around you and tell them your latter days are going to be greater.
तुझे कुशी कोणाकूय पळोवन मग तुझे मागीरचे दीस वर्ते आसतले आता परस
Sometimes you feel, oh, कितें latter and कितें better. Latter, better, कांय जाय मग. कांय दिसती पडना. Sometimes you feel that, right? Feelings. But how many of you know feelings change? Today you're feeling something, tomorrow you'll feel something else.
आमची भावना बदलत रावता आयज तुका एक दिसता फाल्यां दुसऱ्यान दिसतलें
Change जायत रावता. Your feelings are so unpredictable.
तुझी
Never
भावना
steady.
केन्नाच स्थिर आसना
Today you're happy, tomorrow you're sad.
आयज खुशाल पळयता फाल्यां दुखी आसतलो
So don't run by your feelings.
तर तुझे भावना प्रमाणे
And
चलो
nor do you
नाका
make your choices by your
आणि तुझे
feelings.
भावना प्रमाणे निर्णय घेय नाका
So irrespective of your feelings, look to somebody around you and confess to them and say your latter days are going to be greater.
तुका कितेंय दिसता असो तुझ्या खुशी कोणाकूय पळोवन तुझे मागीरचे दीस वर्ते आसतले आतां परस
Okay, my context is the life of Moses.
तर आमी मोजेसाच्या जिवितान पळोवया आयज
Yep. I have divided Moses' life into 3 sections.
3 सेक्शनांनी डिवाइड केलेले आसा मोजेसाचे
Each
जिवीत
section is 40, 40, 40.
40 वर्सां 40 वर्सां 40
You know,
वर्सां
when I was growing up, somebody told me, Michael, you know, when you reach the age of 40, that's the time you really get naughty. Okay, but in the Lord it's different. When we 40 is a very, very, very prophetic number in the Lord.
देवा भितर 40 हो आंकडो खूब महत्वाचो जावन आसा भाकणी कशी
It's
भाकणीचो
not very important, but it has prophetic meaning.
सामको हो महत्वाचो न्हू पूण भाकणीचो
Because
महत्व
I'm not a
आहा ताका.
numerologist. Yes, I believe I'm someone who holds on to the word. So 40 also speaks about a kind of a season that one's going through.
तर 40 उलयता एक तेंपानसान जो मनीस पासर जाता
Now here we see in the beginning in the life of Moses from 0 to 40, the first phase.
पयलो भाग पळोवंक गेल्यार जिविताचो 0 to 40 जे आसा
Exodus chapter 2. Okay, we'll read from verse 10. Now Moses is born.
आतां मोजेस जल्मलो आहा
And we know what happens, right? At the time of Moses' birth, we know Pharaoh passes an edict saying to kill all the children who are born.
तर आमी जाणा मोजेस जल्मलो तेन्ना फेरो जो आसा तो हो हुकूम सोडटा की सगळे जे दादले चेडे भुरगे आसा तांकां मारपाक त्या वेळार
So somehow God supernaturally, because the hand of God was over Moses, Moses somehow is hidden and kept safe. But when they could not do it anymore, they put him into a basket
तर मोजिसाच्या देवाचो हात आसलेलो म्हणून कशेय भाशेन तरी ताका ते पयलीं राखता लिपोवन दवरता पूण जेन्ना लिपोवंक जायना तेंचे कडेन तेन्ना ते एक पाटल्यान घालता.
Because it's a puzzle. How can you hide a child who's just born?
विचित्रच कशें न्हू की कसो भुरगो जल्मलो आसा ताका लिपोवंक शकता.
Because the child who's just born, maybe 1, 2, 3, 4 months, you can't tell them to stop crying, right?
कित्याक 1, 2, 3 म्हयन्याचो भुरगो आसा ताका सांगूंक शकना न्हू उगी राव म्हणून.
Can you say, "I उगी राव रे"? You can't stop them.
थांबोवंक शकना तेंकां
So
रडपाचें.
how could they hide that child? It's a mystery.
तर कशें ते लिपोवंक पावले त्या भुरग्याक एक मिस्तेर कसो.
Yeah, and not just them. You know how jealousy things work?
And-
माझे भुरग्याक येला तुझे भुरग्याक तू लिपोवन दवरता हांव तुजे काडटाच भायर. No, don't we have that feeling? And they took my child they killed.
माझ्या
Now I'm going to
भुरग्याक
keep
मारलो.
quiet. म्हाका जाला. Now you must also get it.
आतां तुकाय जावंक जाय.
That's the world system, right?
तसो संसार
That's
उलयता
how the
न्हू.
world does.
तसो संसार करता.
But somehow God works that Moses is hidden.
तर कशे भाशेन देव लिपोवन दवरता ताका देव
Now, as they put in the basket, now the basket somehow reaches Pharaoh's daughter.
तर आतां तो पाटल्यान ते घालता ताका नदीन सोडटा आनी ती तो पाटलो कशे ना कशे भाशेन फेरूच्या
Did not reach anybody else. Reaches straight Pharaoh's daughter. That speaks about the hand of God, right?
आनी खंय पावना पूण फेरूच्या दुये सोडशीत पावता ते देवाच्या
And now we
हाती
start
उलयता
from
न्हू.
there.
आतां थंयसान सुरू जाता.
When the child grew older, she brought him to Pharaoh's daughter and he became her son. She named him Moses because she said, I drew him out of water. So now we see him being brought up as Pharaoh's daughter's son.
तर आतां आमी पळयता ताका वाडयता तेजी वळख कितें जाता की फेरोचे दुयेचो पूत म्हणून तो.
Now here we see him getting, because he's growing up in the palace now,
तर आतां पॉलासीन वाडटा म्हणून तो
that means he's getting the best education.
म्हटले बऱ्यांतले बरें शिक्षण मेळटा ताका.
Altu faltu न्हय. Pharaoh's daughter's son means a good education is being given to him.
फेरोचे दुयेचो पूत म्हटल्यार बरें शिक्षण मेळटा
He's
ताका.
getting the best training in combat.
बरी ट्रेनिंग मेळटा ताका
He's
झगडपाक.
getting the best training maybe even in horse riding and whatever, chariots and everything. He's getting the best of training.
जायत कर घोडस्वार करपाक नाजाल्यार सगळ्यान बरी ट्रेनिंग मेळटा
He's
ताका
getting the
करपाक.
best lifestyle.
बरी जिवीत मेळटा ताका.
Yeah, he's getting the best armor, the
बरे
best
आंगोस
clothing.
बरे कपडे
He's growing to be a man of great strength.
बरे बळिश्ट मनीस कहो
So
वाटता
now
तो.
he's in his young age, right?
तर आतां सारको तरणाटी पिरायेर आहा न्हू
You
तो.
know, 20, 21, 22, 23, that's your peak.
20
That's where you're strong.
21 22 25 आसा तेन्ना सारको बळिश्ट आसता मनीस.
Yeah. Then we also see him growing up to have good connections.
मागीर आमी पळयता बरे कनेक्शन आसता बरे
I'm
संपर्क
sure
आसता.
he knew the supervisors. I'm sure he knew the seniors. He must have known the top soldiers in the army. He must have known everybody.
तो बरे सुपरवायझरांक ना व्हडले व्हडले सोल्दारांक वळखतालो आसतलो सेनान.
So now we see a man of great influence,
तर आतां आमी पळयता बरे प्रभावाचो
a
मनीस
man
तो.
of great education,
बरे शिक्षण आसलेलो
a
मनीस.
man of great connections.
बरे कनेक्शन आसलेलो
And
मनीस.
such kind of a man, now you know, if you are grown up with such kind of an atmosphere, you will definitely achieve great things, right?
आतां असलें वातावरण वाडला म्हटल्यार बरें मेवतलो न्हू ताका जिवितान.
In verse 11, now see what happens.
आतां पळय 11 वन कितें जाता तें.
One day when Moses had grown up, he went out to his people. Now it also reveals that Moses knew his roots.
आतां हें हितूनसान आमकां कळोन येता की मोजिसाक खबर आसलें आपलें मून कितें
That
तें.
means though he grew up in the Egyptian palace, he knew that he was not an Egyptian but an Israelite.
तो इजिप्शियन पॉलासीन वाडला आसतो पूण तो जाणा आसलो तो इजिप्तकार नासलो तो इस्रायलाचो
And
आसलो
here it
इब्रो आसलो
says he
म्हणून.
went out to his people and looked on their burdens, and he saw an Egyptian beating a Hebrew, one of his people.
आतां तेणें पळयलें की एक इजिप्तकार आसा तो हिब्रूक मारता म्हटल्यार तेज्या लोकांक मारता.
Now he's feeling something
आतां
there.
ताका कितें पूण दिसता.
And what he does, see in verse 12.
आनी पळय कितें करता तो 12 वन.
He looked this way and that, and seeing no one, he struck down the Egyptian and hid him in the stand. Now here we see him in the sand, sorry. He struck down the Egyptian and hid him in the sand. Now here we see him killing an Egyptian.
तर हांगासर आमी पळयता तो एक इजिप्तकाराक जिवेशी मारता.
Remember, he is called by God.
पळय देवान ताका आपोवणें
He's
दिला.
marked by God.
देवान तेजे
He's
शिको मारला.
protected by
देवान
God.
ताका
He's
राखला.
sealed by God.
देवान तेजे शिको मारला.
Somehow God looks after him even though the crisis was all around him,
आकान सोर भोवतणी आसून लेगीत देवान तेका राखलो सांबाळलो
he grows up strong.
तो सारको बोश्ट
He
जावन
grows
वाडलो
up with great education,
बरे शिक्षणान वाडलो
grows up with great connection.
बरे कनेक्शनान वाडलो
And now here, that sense of maybe a calling that was stirred up. I need to do something for my people.
आता जे आपण तेजी किडवलेले की कितें पुणी म्हाका माझ्या लोकां पासून करूंक जाय.
He goes and strikes down an Egyptian that was troubling his person.
तो इजिप्तकाराक एकटे जिवेशी मारता जो तेज्या मनशाक सतायतालो.
So from 0 to 40,
आता 0 ते 40 वर्ष पासून
the great Moses,
आता व्हडतो मोजेस
the great educated Moses,
बरो शिकलोलो
the
मोजेस
great gifted Moses,
बरो वरदान आसलोलो
the
मोजेस
great soldier Moses,
बरो सोल्दार मोजेस
the great influential Moses,
बरो प्रभाव आसलोलो
from 0
मोजेस
to 40,
0 ते 40 वर्ष पर्यंत
to deliver the people of Israel,
इस्रायलच्या लोकांक सुटका दिवपाक
his people to help,
तेज्या लोकांक हेल्प आदार दिवपाक
he only helped by killing one Egyptian.
एकाच इजिप्तकाराक मारून आदार दिवंक पावलो तो.
Ekut's 0 to 40, his prime years of life.
सारकी पिरायची बोरी वर्सां
Prime years are wasted, right? How many of you feel my prime years have been wasted?
कितले जाण आमकां दिसता बोरी वर्सां माझी जिविताची ती ना जाली म्हणून.
Sometimes we say, God, if you had only done it when I was in my 20s, you know.
केन्ना केन्ना म्हणटा देवा 20 वर्सांचो आसतना तुवें केलेलें
We
जाल्यार
feel
तें
that our prime years are wasted,
आमकां
right?
हय दिसता ती आमची मुखेल तोरणाची
0 to
पिरायची
40,
वर्सां
Moses'
जाली.
achievement is, if you would write his biodata to be the leader of the Israelites, he would have been killed one Egyptian.
तर बायोडेटा तर बरयलो वडील जावपाक ना फुडारी जावपाक इस्रायलाचो एकूच इजिप्तकाराक मारलो म्हणून.
Achieved nothing great.
कांयच व्हडतें पळोवंक ना तेणें.
His great education,
व्हडतें शिक्षण
his great training,
व्हडती ट्रेनिंग
his great lifestyle,
व्हडतें जिवीत
his
तेजें
great
चाल,
connections,
व्हडतें कनेक्शन
achieved nothing great.
कांयच व्हडतें करूंक ना तेणें.
Now,
आतां
from 40 to 80,
आतां 40 ते 80 वर्साची
now we
पिरायेचेर
enter into the next phase of
आतां आमी
Moses.
पळयता दुसऱ्या भागान मोजेसाच्या जिविताच्या.
Here we see Moses now running away from Egypt.
आतां आमी पळयता मोजेस इजिप्टानसान पोवन वयता.
He runs away because of the fear of his life.
तेज्या जिविताक भियोन तो पोवन वयता.
Now we start from chapter 3, verse 1. 1, right? Yeah. Chapter 3, verse 1. We don't have someone to read, there. Now Moses was keeping the flock of his father-in-law, Jethro, the priest of Midian, and he led his flock to the west side of the wilderness and came to Horeb, the mount of God, the mountain of God. Now here we see what was his past.
आतां आमी पळयता कितें आसलेलें तेज्या
Great
आदीं
education,
व्हडतें शिक्षण,
great training,
व्हडती ट्रेनिंग,
great lifestyle,
व्हडतें जिविताची चाल,
lot of, a man of great strength,
बरो बोइश्ट मनीस आसलो
great
तो.
connections.
व्हडतें कनेक्शन आसलेलें.
Now his next phase of life,
आतां दुसरो भाग ते जिविताचो
he's gone into looking after sheep.
तो शेळ्यांक राखूंक
He's
पावलेलो
in the
आसा.
wilderness.
अरण्यात आसा.
It seems to be he's living the 40 to 80 as the most unproductive years of his life in regards to his calling.
40 ते 80 वर्सां आमी पळयता तो कांयच अशें फळादीक कशें करीच ना तेज्या आपोवण्या बाबतीन पळोवंक गेल्यार.
Seems to be the most unproductive years.
अशें दिसता की कांयच फळादीक जायना ते
40
जिवितान.
to 80, he's in the wilderness.
40 ते 80 वर्सां तो अरण्यात आसा.
He's in the wilderness. He gets married. He's living a normal life now.
तो काजार जाल्लो आसा आनी तो सारकें सादारण जिवीत
He's got
जियेता.
children.
भुरगीं जाला तेका
And he's working as a shepherd.
आनी तो गोवळी कसो काम करता.
First phase,
पयलो भाग
0 to 40.
0 to 40
What's my achievement?
कितें केलें तेणें?
I defeated one Egyptian.
एका इजिप्तकाराक हांवें हारयलो.
40 to 80, what is my achievement?
40 ते 80 वर्सां कितें केलें तेणें?
My life is settled now.
म्हजें जिवीत सारकें सेटल जालें आतां.
Everything is going perfect for me. I'm susegad.
सगळें सारकें चलता सुसेगाद हांव.
I'm not interested in the Egyptians anymore.
म्हाका इजिप्तकारांच्यान पडलेलें ना.
The Israelites, I don't even know who they are now.
इस्रायलाचे लोक हांव नोको पासून कोण ते.
I am a shepherd man.
हांव सारको गोवळी मनीस.
I'm shepherd.
हांव गोवळी.
I live in the wilderness.
हांव अरण्यांत रावता.
I've got a wife.
बायल आहा.
I've got a child.
भुरगीं आहा.
Yeah, and I've also got my father-in-law along with me.
आनी म्हाजो सासपाय आहा म्हाज्या सांगाता.
That's his life from from 40 to 80.
ते तेजी जिवी 40 वर्सां ते 80 वर्सां
But
पिरायचे
I want to stress this phase of his life.
पूण ह्या जिविताच्या तेच्या भागाचेर हांव
The-
स्ट्रेस करूंक सोदतां.
Before our eyes, they seem to be the most unproductive years.
आमच्या दोळ्या मुखार अशें दिसता आमकां की कांयच फळादीक जावंक ना म्हण हांगासर.
But those very years, 40 to 80,
पूण तीच वर्सां 40 ती 80
he's in the
वर्सां
wilderness.
तो अरण्यांत आहा.
He is actually, in reality, that wilderness is his training period.
तो अरण्याचो वेळ हरशी तेजो ट्रेनिंग वेळ जावन आसा
That
ट्रेनिंगाचो.
years, that maybe today, if that day, those years, Moses would have looked at his 40 to 80, maybe he would have said, what a waste of life.
त्या वेळार तर मोजिसान पयलें न्हू 40 ते 80 वर्सां म्हणटा कितें आनी इबार केलो हांवें सगलो.
But today, when we look back
पूण आयज
and we
जेन्ना
see
पळयता-
the life of Moses, we begin to realize that those years were actually not unproductive, but the years that shaped him to be the leader that he became.
आमी आयज जेन्ना तेजें जिवीत पळयता 40 वर्सां ती 80 वर्सां पिरायेचेर आमी तो म्हणटलो कांयच फळादीक जावंक ना पूण आमी पळयता त्या वेळ देवान तेका तयार केलें देवान तेका घडोवन हाडलो व्हडीच जावपाक इस्रायलाचो.
When the people of Israel left Egypt,
जेन्ना इस्रायलचे लोक इजिप्ट
They crossed the Red Sea.
तांबडो दर्या पासार केलो
do you know
तेणी.
where they were going
तुमी जाण हूंय वयताले ते
or where they were moving?
हूंय वयताले
What they
ते
were passing through?
कितूनसान पासार जावचें पडलें
They
तेंकां.
were passing through the wilderness.
अरण्यांसान तेंकां पासार जावचें पडलें.
So those years, 40 to 80, that Moses is in the wilderness, what he is going through is, he is going through training for 40 years of training. That's not easy, right? 40 years of training to bring the people of Israel out after 80 through the same wilderness.
तर ती 40 ते 80 वर्सां वेळ जो आसा मोसेसाच्या जिविताचो तो आमकां दिसता इबार चलकोचो पूण त्या वेळ देव तेका तयार करतालो इस्रायलच्या लोकांक भायर काडपाक 80 वर्सां पिराय उपरांत तेचे.
So in reality,
तर स्वतान पळोवंक गेल्यार
what Moses is going through is
मोजेस कितूनसान पासार
the
जाता
wilderness years
अरण्याची
were
वर्सां
the most important years of his life.
ही सगळ्यात महत्वाची वर्सां जाली ते
And the
जिविताची.
sad part of our life is we ignore or neglect that wilderness period in our
आणि
lives.
दुःखाची गजाल म्हटल्यार आमच्या जिवितांत जे अरण्याचो वेळ येता ना आमी तो बेपरवा करता.
That wilderness period of Moses fashioned him to be a great leader.
तो अरण्याचो वेळ जो आसलो मोजेसाच्या जिवितांत तेतून मोजेसाक घडोवन हाडलो की व्हड तो फुडारी जावपाक इस्रायला पासत.
In the wilderness,
अरण्यात
he had to look after sheep,
तेका
right?
शेळ्यांक पळोवचें पडटालें
Do you
न्हू.
know?
तुमी जाणा
Sheep are the most foolish, stubborn animals.
शेळी जावन सारकी बुर्द नाजाल्यार हट्टी जानवरां.
And when David writes, "The Lord is my shepherd," what is David saying is, "I am like a sheep."
आनी जेन्ना दावीद बरयता की सोमी म्हाजो गवळी म्हणटा तो म्हणटा हांव एक शेळी समान.
Now, when you read, "The Lord is my shepherd," what are you also saying?
आनी जेन्ना
Saying?
आमी म्हणटा की सोमी म्हाजो गवळी म्हणल्यार आमी कितें म्हणटा
What are you saying?
कितें म्हणटा आमी
Look to somebody around you and say, "I'm saying I'm a sheep."
तुजे कुशी कोणाकूय पळोवन सांग हांव म्हणटा हांव शेळी म्हणून.
And sheep,
आनी शेळी
if you are a mathematician, you will write here, sheep equals to dumb, foolish, crazy, stubborn, and that's who I am.
शेळी म्हटल्यार कितें जाण कितें समान जावन आसा सारकी बुर्द मूर्ख पिशे आनी हट्टी जानवर.
No matter how much you may deny it, we are all the same.
कितली आमी नाकारो पूण आमी सगळीं तितून
Come
आसा.
on. Moses went through training in the wilderness, looking after sheep so that he could look after the Israelites later on.
मोजेस ट्रेनिंगेनसान पास जाल्यार शेळ्यांक राखून करून पळोवन करून की तो इस्रायलाच्या लोकांक मागीर भायर काडपाक अरण्यांतसान.
In your wilderness, what are you doing?
आमच्या अरण्यात आमी कितें करता
Remember,
काय.
your most difficult moments of your life are actually your training period for the greater moments
उगडास
that are to come.
उगडास तर सगळ्यात कठीण वेळ तुज्या जिविताचो तो ट्रेनिंगेचो ना तयारीचो वेळ जावन आसा जे व्हडती वस्त देव करपाचो तुज्या जिवितांत.
Greater moments to come.
व्हडते दीस जे येवपाचे आसता त्या
So now we
पासून.
finish the 40 to 80.
तर आमी 40 ते 80 पिराय पयली आतां.
Now in 40 to 80, we see Moses is not exposed to the Israelites.
आतां आमी पळयता 40 ते 80 वर्सां पिराय तो एका इस्रायलाच्या मनशाक मेळना.
He is married to somebody who's not a part of his race.
तो इस्रायलाच्या मनशाक ओस्त्रिसांत काजार जायना.
So he is not exposed to the people around him.
तर तेजे सोर
That,
भोंवतणी
the Israelites. Right?
इस्रायलाचे लोक नाच तेजे सोर भोंवतणी हुंयच.
So there is no people.
तर लोक ना.
He is not even connected to his God.
तो आपल्या देवाक पासून जुळलेलो ना
Yeah, he can't see or he doesn't know who his God is.
तो नको पासून त्याचो देव कोण तो
But the thing about God is,
पूण देवाविषयी पळोवंक गेल्यार
irrespective of the position that Moses was in at that phase of his life,
मोजीस कसल्याय पोझिशनान आसून त्या वेळ त्याच्या जिविताच्या
God pursued Moses.
देवान मोजसाचो पाठलाग केलो
God revealed himself to Moses.
देवान मोजसाक दाखोवन दिलो आपूण कोण
Moses
तो
was busy looking after his babies.
मोसेस आपल्या भुरग्यांक आपल्या शेळ्यांक
He
राखूंक
was busy looking
आसलेलो
after his sheep.
तो शेळ्यांक पळोवपाक
He was
बिजी
busy doing
आसलेलो
the job for his father-in-law.
आपल्या सासूबाईचे काम करपाक तो
He
बिजी आसलेलो
was satisfied in life.
तो सारको सुसेगाद आसलेलो जिवितान
God pursued him because God had a bigger plan than just looking after children.
देवान तेजो पाठलाग केलो कित्याक देवान तेजे पासून व्हडतें काम दवरलेलें भुरग्यांक पोसच्या
And
परस
we see
व्हडतें.
here now, this phase from 80 to 120, we see God pursuing Moses and leading him into his call.
आता तिसऱ्या भागान आमी पळयता 80 वर्सां पिरायेचो तो 120 वर्सां पिरायेचो देव तेजो पाठलाग करता तेजे आपोवण्यान तेका आपोवपाक
And if you actually think about it, 80 to 120 is like towards the old age.
आनी पळोवंक गेल्यार 80 ते 120 वर्सां पिराय म्हटल्यार सामकी जाणटेपण न्हू
He's going into where his bones are going to get brittle now.
तेजी हाडां सामकी उस्कोत जातली
His
आतां
mind is going to be a little slower.
तेजी मूत मातशी सोका जातली
His
स्लो
eyesight is
जातली
going to be getting a little weaker.
तेका दोळ्यान सारके तितके दिश्टी
His
पडची ना
reflexes to fight are going to get even more.
ते कडेन झगडोंक
slower.
त्या भशेन जावचें ना नेटान
These are not the strong years for Moses.
ही 22 वर्सांनूय कशी मोजसा
0
पासप
to 40 was his years of strength.
0 to 40 ती सारकी 22 वर्सां आसलेली
40
तेजी
to 80 was his years of, okay, I can still do it.
40 ते 80 वर्सां जाता मातशें करूंक पुणी जाता
Now you come to me, I can still do some jumping. I can jump over the walls.
म्हाजे कडेन जाता उडकी मारपाक
Like
वणटी
you see, when we were staying at Mannat Villa, sometimes if you would lock the gate from outside, okay, I couldn't open it, so I had to jump the wall. If for those who've come to my house, they know that there were all those, what you call that, grills with like bows kind of, So we had to jump over that and then go and open it. I can do it.
तर कोणूय
Right, this phase I can still do it.
त्या फेजार करूंक जाता त्या वर्सांनी
But Moses has reached 80 to 120, that phase where you cannot do it.
तर मोजीस आता 80 ते 120 वर्साचे पिरायचे पावलो आता ते कांय
That
जायना
phase
तेजे
when you
कडेन
have to lift moment you lift your legs up, you karak karak.
हाय उकलता
Moses
म्हटल्यार
has
आवाज
reached that
येतालो.
age.
मोजीस त्या पिरायेर पावलेलो आसा
And now God is going to use him.
आणि आता देव तेका ह्या वेळा उजार करपाचो
The
हा
years of his life that he feels आता मन्नाची तयारी जावंक जाय, God is saying ना माझी कामाची तयारी जावंक जाय. कोण हिंगा मन्नाची तयारी करता? देव सांगता तुका तुझ म्हणजे कामाची तयारी कर. हे 80 to 120.
80 ते 120 वर्सां
God is
पिराय
now beginning a work in his.
देव आता काम सुरू करता आपल्या त्याच्या जिवितान
And you open to chapter 3 verse 2. Remember, the most weakest years of his life become the most productive years.
पळय सगळ्यान हुस्कोत वर्सां ते जिविताची सारकी फळादीक वर्सां जाता
So don't ever think that जालें माझे आनी दीस काबार जालें आतां कितें म्हूण उरलां नातवांक पासून पयलें आतां मरपाचें ना रे बाबा ना रे काम आहा आनीक still more we can do as
आनीक
long
करूंक
as
जाता.
God is with us and God has a call over you can still do it.
ज्या पर्यंत देव आमच्या सांगात आहा देवाच्या आपोवणे आसा आमच्या
Your
सांगात
latter
करूंक
days
जाता.
are going to be greater.
तुजे येता ते दीस व्हडते आसतले
Okay, chapter 3 verse 2. And the angel of the Lord appeared to him in a flame of fire out of the midst of a bush. He looked and behold, the bush was burning, yet it was not consumed. Let's go. So now we see here God revealing himself to
तो
Moses.
हांगासर आमी पळयता देव आपूण कोण तो दाखयता मोजेसाक
And God beginning a call over Moses' life.
देव आपोवणे दिता मोजेसाक जिविताच्या
Remember,
त्याच्या
Moses did not show himself to God.
मोजेस सोंग ना देवा मुखार
God showed himself to
देवान
Moses.
आपूण कोण तो दाखोवन दिलो
That's the
मोजेसाक
beauty of God.
ती जावन सोबीत का देवा
When you and I look upon God's ways of working, we can never understand it.
जेन्ना तूं आनी हांव पळयता देव कसो काम करता आमी केन्नाच समजोंक पावची ना
It is always God who pursues us.
देव सदांच आमचो पाठलाग करता
Man will reject us.
मनीस आमकां नाकारतलो
For delivering the people of Israel out of Egypt, you and I, if we were taking an interview and Moses had come with his interview, for this interview with his qualifications and said, age 80, qualification shepherd, anything else you have done? Okay, I've killed one Egyptian. Rejected. You know why?
इस्रायलच्या लोकांक सुटका दिवपाक जर तर आमी इंटरव्यू घेतलो आनी मोजीस आपले सीवी घेवन येयलो न्हू आमी तेजे क्वॉलिफिकेशन पळोवन म्हणटले हे मोजीस रिजेक्टेड म्हणून एकट्याच इतकाराक मारला
Moses,
म्हणून
you are not fit.
मोजीस तूं फिट ना हें करपाक
Physically not fit.
कुडीनूच फिट ना
तूं जाणटेपणान भितर सोदता आनी तुका डिलिव्हरन्स काम जाय. हा? You and I would never have found Moses fit, but God finds him fit.
तुका आनी म्हाका मोजीस केन्ना फिट सापडचें नासलो पूण देवाक तो सापडलो तसो
That's
fit.
why don't judge people by what you see.
त्या खातीर लोक दिसता त्या प्रमाणे लोकांक तूं
Because God
पारखी
sees
नाका
them differently.
कित्याक देव तिंका वेगळीच भाशेन पळयता
Your qualification and God's qualification is completely different.
तुजें क्वॉलिफिकेशन देवाचें क्वॉलिफिकेशन सामकें वेगळें जावन
Don't
आसा
label anybody.
कोणाचेर अशें नांव
Because
दिनाक
the
ना
one
शिको
whom you are
मारनाका
labeling, maybe God has sealed.
कित्याक जायत गोर तुवें ज्या मनशाक नांव दिलें देवान ते
And
शिको मारलेलो आसा
your label may come back to you.
आनी तुजें लेबल पडटा तुकाच तुजें नांव पडटा तुका ते दिलेलें तें तेका
Moses would have been rejected by our standard.
आमी नाकारतले आसलें मोजेसाक
But God called him.
पूण देवान तेका आपयलो
Now when we open to verse 11, now see what Moses is struggling with.
आतां पळय 11वे वळीन पळोवंक गेल्यार मोजेस पळय कितून झुजता तो
Imagine an 80-year-old man now is going through struggles. Huh? You know, sometimes we think, when we look at people around us, we say, what is struggle? They are so good, yeah. See them. They're fit. See the mind. You see their physique and also good. But his struggles, everybody is struggling.
केन्ना केन्ना आमी लोकांक पळयता ते ना तो आनी कितें झुजता आसतलो पळय रे तो काय बरो आसा बळिश्ट आसा सारको पूण सगळीं जाणां झुजता
Sometimes we put a smile here, but there is a frown here.
केन्ना केन्ना आमी बरी स्मायल तोंडार दवरता पूण भितरसान आमी कितली झुजता
Yeah, everyone's struggling. Now we see Moses here, but Moses said to God, who am I? Who am I?
मोसेस म्हणलें हांव कोण
How कोण? 0 to 40, who was Moses?
0 to 40 मोसेस कोण आसलेलो
He was the son of Pharaoh's daughter.
तो फेरोची दुयेचो पूत आसलेलो
He was brought up in the palace.
पॉलासीन वाडलेलो
A
तो
man of influence.
प्रभावाचो मनीस
At the age of 80, he says, who am I? हांव कोण? म्हाका कितें आपयता तूं? Who am I? He's finding himself unfit.
तेका दिसना की तो फिट आसा म्हणून ते
I
काम
want to tell you,
करपाक
maybe here people are there who feel you are unfit.
हांव तुका सांगता तुका हे दिसता आसतलें की हांव अनफिट म्हणून हांव फिट
आनी कितें जातलें म्हज्या जिवितान आनी कितें म्हूण करूंक जातलें म्हाज्यान How much more can I work? How much more can I achieve? How much more can I do? But I want to tell you, God can do much more and beyond your imaginations and thoughts.
आमकां दिसता आसतलें कितें करूंक जाता म्हाज्या नजो पूण देव आमच्या चिंतना परस आमच्या कोण्या परस व्हड तें करूंक शकता आमच्या
He
जिवितान
can do unimaginable things through your life.
आमचे कडेन चिंतूंक जायना तेच्या भायर वस्ती करूंक जाता
So
देवाच्यान
Moses is struggling with, who am I?
तर मोजेस जुसता हांव कोण
In verse 13, we see again Moses struggling.
13 वेळान परत पळयता
Then
मोजेस
Moses said to God, if I come to the people of Israel and say to them, the God of your fathers has sent me to you, and they ask me, what is his name? Who are you?
तू कोण काय म्हणून विचारतलो ते म्हाका
Come on. No, people know. He's asking God, who are you?
तो देवाक विचारता तू
Who
कोण
are
काय
you?
म्हणून
First and foremost, Moses is struggling with the question, who am I?
पयली म्हणल्यार मोजेस आपल्याच भितर जुसता हांव
Second
कोण
question, Moses is struggling, who are you?
मोजेस दुसऱ्या प्रश्नान जुसता तू
He's
कोण
going through his struggles. He feels he's not qualified.
तो आपल्याच झुजान सनपाचे दिसता तेका दिसता तेका
I
फावो
want to
म्हणटा
tell you,
आपण
irrespective of what you feel,
तुका कितेंय दिसता आसूं
God has a plan over your life and He's going to pursue it so that you do what He has called you to do.
देवान येवजण दवरलेली तुज्या जिविताची आनी देव तुजो पाटला करतो करपाक तू जे कितें देवान तुका आपणे दिलेलें आहा करपाक
In chapter 4, verse 1,
चौथे विसरून पयले वळण पळोवंक गेल्यार
we see again now Moses saying,
परत आमी पळयता मोजेस म्हणटा तो.
Then Moses answered, But behold, they will not believe me. They will not listen to me.
ते आयकेचीच ना माझे स्वतूच मानची ना
That means I cannot influence them.
म्हटलं म्हाका जायना तेंचे
I'm
प्रभाव
not
घालपाक
somebody of great, a great influencer.
बरो प्रभाव घालपी बरो तिंका
Sometimes
फोटोवपी
you
न्हय
feel, no, I cannot do it. I cannot influence my own self. What to influence somebody else?
केन्ना आमकां अशें दिसता ना हांव म्हाजेच प्रभाव घालूंक शकना दुसऱ्याक आनी कितें प्रभाव
I'm
घालतलो
struggling with who am I, and you're telling me to tell people who they are.
हांव जुसता हांव कोण तो जाणा जावपाक आनी तूं म्हाका सांगता लोकांक सांग म्हण ते कोण ते
How many of you have realized in your moment of greatest weakness, you become a greatest blessing to somebody else?
कितली जाणां आमी जाणा जेन्ना आमकां दिसता सगळ्यान आमी ओस्कोत आसा म्हणून त्या वेळार देव आमकां व्हडते बेसांव करता दुसऱ्या पासत
When you feel that you are broken,
जेन्ना तुका दिसता तूं सारको तुटलेलो आहा
God
मोडलेलो
uses
आहा
to mold somebody else.
देव तुका उजार करता आनीक कोणाचें जिवीत
Here,
घडोवपाक
God is telling Moses, you are called, that's it.
हांगासर देव मोजता सांग तुका आपणे आसा जाल
And verse 10,
10वी वळीन पळय
we see again Moses saying, we have all the reasons, excuses. How many of you keep giving excuses to not do and not achieve things that God has for you?
कितली जाणां आमी निमित्तां दीत रावता करना जावपाक ज्यो गोश्टी देवाक जाय आमी
But
केलेल्यो
Moses said to the Lord, oh my Lord, I am not eloquent. I have a stuttering problem, God. I have a speech problem.
तर मोजेस म्हणटा देवा म्हाका घाक येता म्हाका उलोवंक जायना सारकें
But yet God called him.
पूण तरी देहान ताका आपयलो,
Yet God pursued him.
तरी देहान ताजो पाठलाग केलो.
Moses in his old age,
Mo-
80 to 120, was called by God.
मोजेस सारखे जाणटे पिरायेचेर म्हटल्यार 80 ते 120 वर्सां
He
त्या
was
वेळार
called
देहान
from the
आपयलो.
time of his birth.
तो जल्मानसान देहान ताका आपोवणें
From
दिलेलें.
0 to 40, he achieved was one soldier that he killed.
0 to 40 वर्सां एकाच इजिप्तकाराक मारलेलो त्याने.
From 40 to 80, he only looked after sheep.
40 ते 80 वर्सां पिरायेचेर त्याने फक्त शेळ्यांक राखलेलो,
In the
सांबाळलेलो.
wilderness.
अरण्यांत.
Now 80 to 120, his weakest point of his life,
आतां 80 ते 120 वर्सां सारको उसकोत आसतना
he's being used by God.
देव तेका उजार करता त्या
And what
वेळार.
happens?
आनी कितें जाता?
We see a weak man
आमी पळयता उस्कोत मनीस,
whose age is not in his favor,
तेजी पिराय तेजी सांगाता नासली.
bringing down Pharaoh's army.
आमी पळयता फेरोची सेनांक आख्खे सोकला
Ha
उडयता.
ha ha. I know when I tell it to you or when you read it, you may just say, he brought down Pharaoh's army.
जेन्ना आमी
Yeah.
वाचतना हांव तुमकां सांगता,
If you know the actual reality,
खरेपणान पळोवंक गेल्यार
it's as good as bringing down the greatest superpower of today's world,
आतांचो जो सुपर पावर आहा न्हू तेका त्या राष्ट्राक सोकला
which is your
उडोवप.
strongest nation today.
हुंयचे सगळ्यान बळिश्ट
Whichever
राष्ट्र,
that strongest nation is,
हुंयचेय ते राष्ट्र आसूं न्ही.
if it was in the time of Moses, Moses would be bringing it down.
मोजिसाचे वेळ आसलेले मोजिस त्या राष्ट्राक सोकला काबार करतलो आसलेलो.
Old man,
जाणटो मनीस,
जाणटो मनीस, जायत गोटे बेंडाक पासून कडक 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 उबो रावतना करचे पडटाले. We don't know.
आमी नको.
We don't know.
आमी नको,
But God did it.
पूण देहान केलें तें.
A weak man,
उस्कोत
God
मनीस
used to pull down the army of Pharaoh, the
देहान
Egyptian
उजार केलें
army.
इजिप्तकाराची सेनांक नाश करपाक.
Prior to that,
हेच्या आदी
his strength
तेज्या
in
बळान,
his prime,
तेज्या बरे तरणाटे पिराय,
all he could pull down was one person.
फक्त एकाच इजिप्तकाराक तो मारूंक पावलो.
Yeah, he's pulled down the army of Egypt.
हांगासर तेणें आख्खी सेनांक इजिप्टाचे काबार केली.
Would you say his former days were better or latter days were
आमी
better?
कितें म्हणटले तेचे आदीचे दीस बरे आसलेले की मागीरचे दीस बरे
I
आसलेले?
can't hear you. Look to somebody and say latter days.
अशें कुशी कोणाकूय पळोवन म्हण मागीरचे दीस.
After he killed that Egyptian
ते इजिप्तकाराक मारले उपरांत
in the beginning, in his younger days,
सुरवातेक तरणाटे पिरायेर तेजे
there were two Israelites that were fighting.
2 इस्रायलाचे लोक झगडटाले.
And Moses went to try to patch them up, patch them up.
मोजिस गेलो शांती हाडपाक तेंच्या मध्ये
And
घात.
instead of him patching them up, they told him, what, you also will try to kill us now?
आणि ते बरे मनशाक वयल्यान ते म्हणटा तूं आतां आमकांय मारूंक सोदता जितो.
You see, Moses could not even influence 2 of the Israelites.
दोगा इस्रायलच्या मनशाचेर तो प्रभाव घालूंक पावंक ना.
2 in his former days, not even 2 Israelites, his own people he couldn't influence.
तेजे तरणाटे पिरायेचेर 2 इस्रायलच्या लोकांचेर पासून प्रभाव घालूंक पावंक ना तो आपल्या लोकांचेर.
At the age of 80,
आणि 80 वर्साच्या पिरायेचेर
he is influencing lakhs of
तो
Israelites,
लाखांनी इस्रायलांचेर प्रभाव
as
घालता.
good as the population of Goa.
गोंयाच्या पॉप्युलेशना प्रमाणे कशे लोक.
Former days
आदीचे दीस
could not even control 2.
2 जाणांक पासून मनोवंक पावंक ना तो.
Latter days,
मागीरच्या दिसांनी
at the age of 80,
80 वर्साच्या पिरायेचेर
he is influencing lakhs of people.
लाखांनी लोकांचेर प्रभाव घालता तो.
Which is better, former or latter?
कितें बरें आसलेले आदीचे काय मागीरचे?
I can't hear you. Look to somebody and tell them latter days.
जे कुशी कोणाकूय पळोवन मागीरचे दीस.
When he was in his former days,
जेन्ना तो आदीच्या दिसांनी
at the
आसलेलो
age of 0 to 40,
0 to 40 वर्साच्या पिरायेचेर
there's no story of him bringing water from rocks,
कांयच काणी ना तेच्या विशीं की तेणें खडपानसान उदक भायर काडलें,
parting the Red Sea,
तांबडो दर्या दोशी केलो,
manna from heaven.
स्वर्गारसान माना पयलें.
Nothing is mentioned.
कांयच बरयलेलें ना तेच्या
Only
विशीं तशें.
education,
फक्त शिक्षण,
only training,
फक्त ट्रेनिंग,
palace,
पलास,
all that lifestyle we can understand.
सगळी ती जिविताची चाल ती आमकां थंय दिश्टी पडटा.
But when it came to achievements,
पूण जेन्ना कितें अचिवमेंटा विशीं पळयता आमी तेच्या
null, zero, shunya. Any other word? Zer. Nothing.
कांयच न्हू.
But after 80 to 120.
पूण 80 ते 120 वर्सां पिरायेचेर
Water from rocks. Unthinkable. Even his education would have never told him that you can strike the rock and bring the water out.
खडपाणसान उदक भायर काडलें तेजी शिक्षणा वरी पासून ताका खबर आसनासलें खडपाण मारून दांडो मारून उदक भायर सरता
Even his education would have not told him stretch your rod and the sea will part.
तेज्या शिक्षणांतल्यान ताका हे पासून कळचें ना की तूं दांडो उबार आनी दर्या दोशी
Even his
जातलो
education would have not told him look up to heaven and you will see food falling down.
तेजी शिक्षण ताका हे पासून कळचें ना वयर सरकार पळय आनी जेवण पळयतलो तो येता तो सरकारसान
Education is good,
शिक्षण बरें
but not above God.
पूण देवा वयर न्हू
God is above it all.
देव सगल्या वयर आसा
All that Moses achieved was in his latter days,
सगळे जे मोसान पयले ते जिवितान फळादीक जाता ते तेजे निमाणे
not in
दिसांनी
his former days.
आदीच्या दिसांनी न्हय
He achieved more at 80 and after 80 than at 40.
ते 80 वर्साचे पिरायेचे त्याने चड पयले जाता ते 40 वर्साचे
When
पिरायेचे
you look into
परस
the Old Testament, there was a man named Joseph.
ओदले करण पोंगी जोसेफ नांवाचो आनीक मनीस
He was
आसलो
blessed by his father with a coat of many colors.
तेका तेजे बापायन एक बरो कोट दिलोलो रंगीन कोट
And he wore that coat of many colors, and I'm sure he showed it all off.
आनी जायत करून ते कोट घालून तो बरो झेत मारतालो शेव मारतालो
For his former days, Joseph felt the coat of many colors was his pride.
आदी तेका दिसताल की तेजो जो रंगीन कोट जो आसा तो बरो गौरवाची गोष्ट
आमी
म्हणून
जायते जाण आदीचे तेंपाचे उलयता न्हू ते दीस ते दीस अशें आहले ते दीस हांव अहो भोंवतालो ते दीस तहो कोत्तालो ते दीस आरे बाबा येता ते दीस पळय कितें जावपा आहा तें Because the latter days of Joseph, he was not roaming with a coat of many colors. He was surrounded with only colors.
मागीरच्या दिसांनी फक्त एकूच कोट घालून नासलो तो रंगीन पूण जायते कलराचे असलेले कोट
Because
तेजे
he was
कडेन
sitting in the palace,
कित्याक तो पॉलासी नासलो त्या
second
वेळार
in command of that nation.
दुसरो असलो फेरो फाटल्यान तो त्या राष्ट्राचो वडील
From just being somebody, he became a man of great influence over that nation.
एक कोणपणी असलो आदी पूण आता तो प्रभावाचो मनीस जाल्लो त्या राष्ट्राचेर
We look into
आख्या
the life of Job.
जोबाच्या जिवितान
When we
पळयता
read
आमी
Job chapter 1 verse 3, we see he is called that the greatest man of the east.
जेन्ना आमी पळयता सुरवातेक तेका तो व्हडतो मनीस म्हटलेलो आसा तेका
And you
प्रभावाचो
count all his possessions.
आनी सगली तेजी संपत्ती
And when
पळोवन
you go to
गेल्यार
the last chapter of Job
आनी निमाण्या विस्वरान गेल्यार
and you
जोबाच्या
compare the first and the last,
आनी पयलीची आनी मागीरची तुलना
you will
केल्यार
begin to see that he had double for all his former trouble.
आमी पळयता तेका दोबरादान मेळ्ळो सगले जे पयली त्रास
God
आसले
blessed
तेचे.
him more than what he had before.
जे आदी असले तेच्यान त्यान चड तेजे
I
पेसांव
want to
घातले
tell you, your latter days are going to be greater.
हांव तुका सांग तुजे मागीरचे दीस व्हडते आसतले
But the only problem is
पूण एकूच विशय म्हटल्यार
the midway.
मोदेगाचो जागो
Because that midway creates all the problems.
कित्याक ते मोदेगाच सगलो विशय येता
You see, for Moses, 0 to 40 was not the problem.
मोजसा पासो 0 to 40 वर्सां विशय नासलो
Because everything was going perfect for
कित्याक
him.
सगले सुसेगाद चलताले तेच्या पासत
He was also like as good as maybe king of that place.
राजा कसो आसलेलो ते त्या वेळार
80 to 120, he was doing something.
80 ते 120 वर्सां कितें पूण करतालो तो
But 40 to 80,
पूण 40 ते 80 वर्सां मोदेगाद
those midway, that midway is the big issue.
तो मोदेगाचो जागो व्हडतो विशय आसलेलो
Because the midway,
कित्याक मोदेगाद
how you handle it will determine whether you are going to go to 80 to 120 or not.
ते दाखयतले तूं 80 ते 120 वर्सां पावतलो काय म्हणून ना
When you open to Psalms 23,
23 स्तोत्रान पळोवंक गेल्यार
we see verses 1 till 3, everything is great.
आमी पळयता पयली ते तिसरी वर्स सगळे बरें चलता
Everything is perfect.
सगळे उत्तम
If you
आसा.
can put it for me, Psalm 23, verse 1. The Lord is my shepherd. Wow. I shall not want. Wow. Go to verse. He makes me lie down in green pastures. Wow. He leads me beside still waters. Wow. Then go further. He restores my soul. He leads me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Everything is perfect till here.
आतां तिसरी वळ पर्यंत आमी पळयता सगळे उत्तम आसा
And if you and I were living from verse 1 till verse 3, you and I would have said, wow. Look to
Poilen-
somebody and say, wow.
तिसरी वळ पासून आमी असल्या म्हणटली वाव म्हणून काय बरें
And then when you go into verse 5,
आनी पांचवे वळीन
I don't
गेल्यार
want you to go to 4, okay? Go to 5.
पांचवे वळीन गेल्यार
We'll say, you prepare a table before me. Wow.
आमी पळयता तूं मेज तयार करता
Come on, I want you to say it. Wow.
वाव
In the presence of my enemies,
म्हजे दुस्मानाच्या सामकारा
you anoint my head with oil.
तूं तेलान म्हाजो तगले अभिषेक करता
My cup
म्हजें
overflows.
पात्र भरून वता
Come on, that should be a little more louder. Wow.
वाव
Because we want that cup to overflow. Verse 6.
6वी वळीन.
Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me
वाव.
all the days of my life,
जिवीत भर.
and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever.
आणि हांव देवाचे घरान बिराट करता सदांकाळ.
So verse 1 to 3 is wow. Verse 5 and 6 is wow.
तर पहिली ते तिसरी वळ वाव आणि 5वी आणि 6वी वळ वाव.
The problem is verse 4.
विषय म्हणले 4थे वळी.
Because many of us get stuck in verse 4.
कित्याक जायती जाण आमी 4थे वळ शिरकोन उत्ता.
What's verse 4?
कित्याक हा 4थे वळी?
Even though I walk through the valley. This is not wow.
ये वाव नो.
Because nobody likes valley of the shadow of death. It's not very nice. Skip, cancel kore. But it is this verse
पूण ही वळ ती
that joins you to your next verse.
जी तुका जॉइन करता फुडले वळीक.
I want to tell you, your latter days are going to be greater.
हांव तुका सांगता जे मागीरचे दीस व्हडते आसतले.
And so if you are in the midway,
आनी तू तर मोदेगात आसा,
where you feel it's verse 4 for you,
तुका दिसता 4थी वळ म्हण तुज्या
though I
पासत.
walk through the valley of the shadow of death,
आ मोनाची सावळीच्या खिणांसान पासर
you may
लेगीत
be
जाता
feeling you are
जायत
in the wilderness where nothing is being fashioned,
तुका दिसता आसतलो अरण्यान कांयच घडोन येना.
where you feel nothing good is happening
तुका
for me.
दिसता कांयच बरें जायना माझ्या
I'm just
पासत.
doing the basic job of surviving.
हांव फक्त सदांचे काम करता जिवे उरपाचे.
I know my first phase 0 to 40. God had a call. God protected me. God covered me in the Nile River. I was safe.
हांव जाण 0 to 40 वर्सां देवान म्हाका राखले. देवाचो आत्मा आशिल्लो आसा. देवान म्हाका आपोवणें दिलेलें नायल नदीन म्हाका सांबाळलो देवान.
Crocodiles would open their mouth to bite me or eat or take that entire casket inside, and I would come up.
मानगे असलेले ते सारखे काबार कोतले असे जायत गोळी खाऊन ते पाटलो पुन्हा हांव उरलो थंयसर.
God was with me.
देव माझ्या सांगात आसलेलो.
I know God is going to do big things for me.
हांव जाणा देव व्हडटी वस्ती करपास.
I know God has a great plan
हांव
for
जाण
me.
देवान व्हडटी येवजण दवरलेस माझ्या पासत.
But I'm in verse 4 now.
पूण आतां हांव 4थे वळीन
I'm in the
आसा.
wilderness.
अरण्यात आसा.
I can't see it.
म्हाका कांय दिसना.
I can't see any good thing.
म्हाका कांयच बरी वस्त दिसना जाता
And some
ती.
of us in that verse 4 are feeling, okay, I can see my kasham at least.
And so
Bore
they want to-
moron, doni me out. At least my last days will be good. But I want to tell you that those are not your last days. You're still dreaming. There is more to come.
ते निमाणे दिसनो तुजी तू स्वप्ने ता व्हडते येवपाचे आसा आनी.
Verse 5 and 6 is yet to come.
5वी आणि 6वी वळ येवपाचे
Your
आसा तुज्या
80 to
पासत.
120 is yet to come.
तुजे 80 ते 120 वर्सां येवपाचे
Your latter
आसा.
days are yet to come.
तुजे मागीरचे दीस येवपाचे आसा.
Your coming days are going to be greater than the former
तुजे
days.
येता ते दीस व्हडते आसतले आदी परस.
All you need to do is keep pursuing in God.
सगळे तुवें करूंक जाय देवाचो पाटला
In verse
करीत
4 he
रावंक जाय.
says there, even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. Then he goes further and says, for you are with me.
तो म्हणटा-
It's me and God, God and me and God, God and me. This is what makes the difference.
तो म्हणटा हांव कसलेच वायटाक भियेचें न्ही कित्याक तूं म्हज्या सांगात आसा. तूं आनी देव, देव आनी तूं, देव आनी हांव आनी देव ह्यो अंतर करता.
Can make a song with that. God and me and God and God and me and God and God. That goes on and on till you see your kasha.
ते चलत आसता. तूं आनी हांव आनी तूं आनी तूं आनी हांव आनी तूं आनी ते काशा पळय पर्यंत आमी चालूच आसता देवा सांगाता.
Because that is what connects verse 3 to verse 5, where you will begin to see your latter days greater than the former days.
कित्याक तेच जोड तिसरे वळीक 5वे वळी कडेन आनी ते जावन आसा की तूं तुजे व्हडते दीस पळयतलो मागीरचे दीस तुजे व्हडते आसतले आदी परस.
So if anybody tells you,
तर कोण तुका सांगता
जालें आतां आमी कितें आनी पळोवपा उरला, जाणटे जाल्या अरे बाबा तूं जाणटो जाला जायत गोडे, बरे दीस म्हजे आनीक येवपाचे आसा. म्हजे बरे दीस तुजे जाले दिसता काबार, म्हाजे कॉमेस जावपा हा. That is our assurance.
ती आमची खात्री जावन आसा.
That is the assurance that we have.
ती आमकां खात्री आसा.
My coming days are going to be greater.
म्हजे येता ते दीस व्हडते
It's not
आसतले.
over.
काबार जावंक ना
I've
अजुनूय.
not reached the end.
हांव शेवटाक पावंक ना अजुनूय.
It's just another beginning.
एक नवी सुरवात जावन आसा
I'm
ती.
moving from my one season to the next
हांव
season.
एका तेंपानसान दुसऱ्या तेंपान भितर
In
सरता.
between that season, I may be going through a phase where I can't see anything.
मोदेगात ते तेंपाचे म्हाका दिसता आसत कांय दिश्टी पडना म्हाका.
But I know one thing.
पूण एक वस्त हांव जाणा.
The Lord is with me.
देव म्हज्या सांगाता आसा.
I am with God.
हांव देवा सांगाता
And
आसा.
I am going to go to the other side.
आनी हांव पावतलोच पलतडेक.
And I will see the double that He has promised. promised.
आणि हांव पळयतो दोबरादांचे ध्यान बसायलेले
My
आसा
latter days,
माझे मागीरचे दीस
my latter days
माझे मागीरचे
are
दीस
going to be greater than the former.
ते व्हडते आसतले आदी परस
I'm speaking to somebody in this
हांव
place.
कोणाकडे पण उलयता ह्या जाग्यार
Somebody.
कोण पुणी
This
आसा
is not just some word that is spoken.
हे बेश्टे उतर उलयलेले
This
आसा
is
तशें
not just
न्हय
knowledge that I'm giving.
हे गिन्यान हांव वाटिना
I'm speaking it prophetically over you.
हांव भासायते तुझ्या
I'm
जिविताचेर
speaking these words over your life,
तुझ्या जिविताचेर ही उतरां उलयता
over
हांव.
your family.
तुझ्या फॅमिलीच्या जिविताचेर
over your
उलयता
future.
तुझ्या फुडाराचेर
I
उलयता
want
हांव
to speak it over you
हांव
today.
तुजेर उलोवंक सोदता आयज
That
ती
God is going to bless your latter
की
days.
देव तुझ्या मागीरच्या दिसाचेर आशीर्वाद
It is
घालतलो
not yet over.
अजून लेगीत काबार जावंक ना
It is not yet over.
अजून लेगीत काबार
No,
जावंक
no,
ना
no, no,
ना 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 ना
No matter what your body tells you,
कितेंय जायत गो तुजी कूड सांगता
I
आसा
want to tell
तुका
you what God tells you.
हांव तुका सांगता जे कितें देव तुका
It
सांगता
is
आयज
not over.
अजून लेगीत काबार
He's
जावंक
going to
ना
be doing bigger things.
तो व्हडत्यो वस्ती करपाचो
He's going to
आसा
be doing bigger things.
व्हडत्यो वस्ती करपाचो
He's
आसा
going to
तो
be doing bigger
तो
things.
व्हडत्यो वस्ती करपाचो
There's
आसा
a bigger move of God.
व्हडते देव काम करपाचो
In your
आसा
life.
तुझ्या जिवितांत
There's a bigger move of God.
व्हडते देव काम
In
करपाचो
your
आसा
future.
तुझ्या फुडारान
All you need to do is
सगळे तुवें करूंक जाय तें
walk with God
देवा सांगाता चलोंक जाय
and God with
आनी
you.
देव तुज्या सांगाता
Shall we rise to our feet?
आमी उबी रावयात
Holy Spirit,
पवित्र आत्म्या
stir up your word.
तुजें उतर किडोय दुनिया
The word that has been spoken today,
जे उतर आयज उलयलेलें आसा
stir it up.
किडोय दुनिया
Stir it up.
किडोय दुनिया
And whoever it is for,
आनी कोणाय पासत आसूं तें
let it be a seed
एक बी जावन
that's sown in them.
तेजे भितर रोयलेलें
And let it sprout and bring forth. Let it show forth.
आनी ती किल्लोन दाखोवन येवनी दिसोन येवनी दुनिया
Holy Spirit,
पवित्र आत्म्या
I commit each one into your
हांव
hands.
दर एकट्याक तुज्या हातीन समर्पिता
Complete what you have begun.
पुरावे कर जे कितें तुवें सुरू केलेलें आसा तें
Complete it, God.
सोपय दोनये जे कितें सुरू केलेलें आसा तें
Touch your people. Touch. Touch. And those who felt they were hopeless,
आनी जिंकां दिसतालें कांयच भरवसोच ना म्हणून
I want them to see what
म्हाका जाय
you are
तें.
going to be doing.
पळयलेलें तिणी जे कितें तूं करपाचो आसा तो
I want them to know within them that there's bigger things that you're going to work.
म्हाका जाय जाणा जाल्यार तेंचे भितरसान ज्यो व्हडत्यो वस्ती तूं करपाचो आहा तो
And the temporary struggles they are going through,
आनी आतांचे ते थोड्या वेळाच्या त्रासांसान ते पासर जाता
it's
ते
just a midway issue.
ते फक्त मोदेगाचो विशय
It's going to pass,
हो पासर जातलो
and they are going to see that latter days greater than the former.
आनी ती पळय तर मागीरचे दिसा आसा ते व्हडते आसतले आदी परस
Touch your people, God.
हात लाय तुज्या लोकांक दुनिया
Touch. In Jesus' name I pray.
जेजूच्याच नांवान आमी मागता बापा
Amen.
आमेन
Come on, give him a shout of praise. Amen. Yep, anybody in need of prayer, you can come forward. Yep, God bless you. Have a great week ahead. Bye-bye.